Hello, welcome to the New Stack Makers, a podcast where we talk about at-scale application development, deployment, and management. We'd like to thank Cloud Native Computing Foundation for sponsoring our podcast from CloudNativeCon KubeCon Berlin. Thanks very much for the support here. We've had a great show. Hey, it's Alex Williams of the New Stack here at CloudNativeCon KubeCon Berlin. And we're here today with Andreas Jaeger of Susa. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks.
Good to see you here. And Sriram Subramanian, old friend in the business, colleague here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Alex. Always pleasure.
Always a pleasure. So, wanted to talk with you today about Susa joining the Cloud Native Computing Foundation as a member, and a little bit about your interest in Kubernetes and offering it as a commercial distribution, and how that fits with OpenStack. I know you have a deep investment in OpenStack as well. And so perhaps we just can start with asking that just a question: why did you join the CNCF? What is its value to you, and how do you want to participate?
So we announced today that we are joining the CNCF because for us, Kubernetes and Cloud Native is at the heart of how the future data center will look like. And we are working already. You mentioned OpenStack. We have Kubernetes already available as part of Magnum in SUSE OpenStack Cloud 7 that we released last month. We are will offer additional products like Container as a Service platform, a Kubernetes distribution basically, later this year. The beta is starting now. And we are also working on combining CASP and PaaS with We've got some teams coming over from HPE that have done a Cloud Foundry based offering, and this one will be offered by SUSE, and that one is running on Kubernetes. So there's 3 areas that we are targeting this year with Kubernetes, and going forward we will offer more. And that's one of the reasons why we're going there, because we see the value of the CNCF as a common place to move Cloud Native forward, and that's a place that we want to participate in and move that forward. Move together with our customers in that area.
Are you also going to provide support for your Kubernetes distribution?
Yes, we will offer support for our Kubernetes distribution, and our product, the Container as a Service platform, that includes a special targeted OS plus the Kubernetes distribution, and we will support that.
What is that Container as a Service platform that you guys are that you're offering? Tell us a little bit about it. Who's it for? Is it for your existing customer base? Tell us a little bit about that Container as a Service.
We have talked with existing customers for sure, with partners about that. We not only want to address those, but also want to address new markets. But our goal is enterprise software and the software-defined infrastructure in those data centers. And those customers you want to reach with that. That's why we are starting with bare metal deployment of Kubernetes. And having a cluster of Kubernetes running supported there. And we will go from there in the future also to cloud, to have hybrid support with federation and so on, moving your workloads from your data center to public cloud or to different locations.
Is there a specific public cloud that you would support, or when you say public cloud, which one? What did you mean?
We will probably work with Azure and Amazon. We might work with Visual K5, all of those major with Google, depending on what the needs are, how the partnerships look like. But we have already our enterprise distribution in those clouds available, and wherever it makes sense, we want to enhance that and make it easy to do.
Any OpenStack-based public cloud provider, because you are based in Europe and you have a lot of OpenStack-based public cloud provider, right?
I can't answer that one right now. The public cloud we have a couple of guys that run our OpenStack in their public cloud infrastructure, like data center in Finland, but I don't know whether they are going to use Kubernetes or not.
What are the? I guess one of the things I'm curious about from your perspective. You know, SUSE has a long history as providing enterprise software, right? And the enterprises are changing quite a bit, right? With terms of their approach to like software development. What is your story about what you're going through internally to like transform yourselves to be able to be more iterative and be more agile? And how is the adoption of these technologies? Are you consuming these technologies yourself? Are you starting to tell us about that? I'm curious.
Since we're developing software,
right,
we go through that process ourselves. The whole agile process is something we have to have DevOps where those tools comes in. We have started working or using Docker internally before the 1.0 release for testing of our management solution, SUSE Manager, where it was used, where we used the container as part of the testing of the CI infrastructure. And we have a service running, or SCC, through the customer center, which is also developed in an agile way. So teams are doing Scrum, and we have many. DevOps is basically a way we've been working for years. In some ways, with this continuous integration, we always have one code stream we integrate on, but it's taking up speed. Teams are working closer on that. So with SCC, the team is doing Scrum. They're using container for testing, not for deployment yet. But those will be the next steps, I guess.
So, so are you using Kubernetes then to manage your own internal infrastructure now?
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But that's something we have to evaluate and see what's going on.
Right.
And I expect we will use that for development purposes as a first step.
Is that a process then that you're going through now then to get to that point?
That one hasn't started yet.
Hasn't started yet. Okay.
But that's something we'll look at, sure.
Right. Right.
Andreas, thank you. I would like to ask you a little bit more about your contribution code-wise to any of these projects. Is SUSE actively contributing code to Kubernetes or any other CNCF portfolio projects yet, or do you have any plans to do that in the near future?
We have in the past more contributed to the underlying projects. So we have been heavily involved with OCI.
Okay.
Yesterday, runs here a patch finally emerged to make rootless containers possible, for example, and that was OCI stuff where we are engaged. We have worked on a private registry with authentication and so on to lay the groundwork there, but involvement in CNCF has been very sporadic so far. But I expect that to change. We are scaling up there.
Thank you.
So are you guys developing any of your own open source projects at all?
There's a question, what do you mean? We have some projects all our projects we are developing are open source.
Right.
So for example, for the container service platform, we are developing an administration dashboard.
Oh, you are?
Called Velum.
What's it called?
Velum.
Okay.
It's available on GitHub, like everything else is in the Cubic project namespace, and That's open source, but it's only us contributing there.
Oh, that's okay.
But we have other software that we're developing, some on our own driving, but that are where we have community and people working on, like on our build service, or Portos, which is part of the private registry, which is used by others.
Okay.
As well.
Okay. Okay. So with that in mind, then the contributions then to the Kubernetes community. How are you participate? How do you want to participate in the Kubernetes community? Through your own contributions.
I think they mentioned OCI.
So
You are a part of the OCI work.
So one part we have been looking at was working on that OCI interface.
Okay.
So integrating OCI and allowing that to be used instead of the Docker backend, and making that enterprise ready. We will look at those areas at Kubernetes and talk with our customers or potential customers and figure out where they see the most need and do changes there.
What do you see as the intersection of Kubernetes and OpenStack?
That's that overlap is a very, very interesting and hot topic.
Yeah.
So the next there have been in the last OpenStack summits quite some talks and keynotes about that intersection.
Yeah.
And we've done the first step now with SUSE OpenStack Cloud 7, where we have enabled Magnum with Kubernetes
Right.
as a supported offering to easily set up and run in your existing OpenStack installation a Kubernetes cluster. But we are also looking at the other side of putting OpenStack components into containers and then potentially run them on Kubernetes.
So you are doing both OpenStack on Kubernetes and Kubernetes on OpenStack.
We are doing today Kubernetes on OpenStack,
Okay.
and the other thing is something we are evaluating after we.
Sure.
That's part of container as a service platform where we want to put that one on top of it.
Okay.
So that's the next step.
For among your customer base, from what you have seen, are you seeing which one has got more interest, Kubernetes on OpenStack or OpenStack on Kubernetes?
The customer base is interested in Kubernetes. What I haven't seen requests asking for running Kubernetes, OpenStack on Kubernetes. But what they are interested in is the benefits that this gives us. So they are interested in a seamless upgrade without downtime. And that's something OpenStack on Kubernetes will give us.
Okay. Like particularly if you containerize the OpenStack services, it'll be a lot easier to upgrade.
Exactly. We do have already a seamless upgrade, but still it will have a downtime of, depending on your size, of 50 minutes or whatever of your control plane. So applications, the virtual machines will continue to run, but still you cannot start a new virtual machine during that downtime.
Sure.
And I'd like to avoid that completely and have zero downtime.
And are you participating or are you involved with the OpenStack on? There is a special interest group within the Kubernetes community. Are you planning on, if you are interested in participating or helping towards OpenStack on Kubernetes or Kubernetes OpenStack, there are SIG on that.
There are several groups doing that in parallel, and we have to evaluate which one is we can most benefit from and help us.
Okay, yeah. Alex, I have a question on their Kubernetes distribution, but if you have a question, I can wait. Okay, yeah. So, we saw this kind of the proliferation of distributions among the OpenStack community. And at some point we had like 15, 16 distributions. Finally, right now we have like 3 or 4 standing, right? Similarly, right now there's tons of Kubernetes distributions. There's 12 Kubernetes distributions, 30 Kubernetes-based platforms. So my question to everybody, and SUSE in specific, is what is the value proposition that SUSE distribution of Kubernetes offers that a customer cannot or may not obtain from the upstream Kubernetes distribution or Kubernetes?
Our history is that we are a company doing since 25 years Linux and operating system. So we can help not only we will be able to help with the operating system and Kubernetes with networking problems that are happening and so on, and support the complete cluster and have that experience from SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, from SUSE OpenStack on the whole stack. That's the experience. But the other thing what we especially value is a very easy setup. For us, it's important that the software-defined infrastructure means it reduces complexity. That means it has to be easy to set up for the operator. You want to start a container or virtual machine in seconds, in minutes, and don't want to wait hours for a machine to deploy. And the same ease and quickness we'd like to offer an administrator as well. Getting the server in, connecting it, powering it on, and then very quickly get it into the cluster and have Kubernetes running on it.
Okay.
That's one of our goals, to make it easy.
So basically, like, you are kind of, if you want to call, I mean, the cliched word, one throat to choke, that's something like that, right? So you have the complete control on intimacy over the entire stack. So that's the USP that you offer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What we are also going to do with Container as a Service platform, we are talking more, we're saying OS as a service. So meaning we will have transactional updates, automatic updates of the cluster, so that the operator will always have an up-to-date system that the DevOps people, developers, production can use, and will update itself without any manual intervention.
Makes sense. Thank you.
So when you're managing your engineering resources across, open source communities, what's your philosophy about that? How do you organize internally to have people to make those contributions?
We have a lot of flexibility and with teams. So there are some people working on open source projects because they see something emerging. That was how Docker was introduced at that couple of years ago.
Okay.
Where we had I think it was where people saw it's coming up. Let's invest how it is. Let's look what it is, and that was done by somebody without any steering. And then from there it spread through the company. For other investments, we look at what's coming up and decide, okay, we need to put some people on that, and sometimes from teams, sometimes have cross-functional teams about different experts. There is no one answer to that.
Right there, yeah. So now you have major investments in OpenStack, correct?
Yes.
And you must have a good percentage. You must have like engineering resources that are always dedicated to OpenStack, right?
Yes.
How does that compare to the engineering resources you have for Kubernetes?
We will have, especially with people coming from HPE, where we have, they have been working on Kubernetes already for some time. We will have a dedicated team for Kubernetes, so that's going forward.
Okay. So you'll have a dedicated team for OpenStack and a dedicated team.
A dedicated department for OpenStack now.
What's that?
A dedicated department, so more than one team.
Right. Okay.
But yeah,
for OpenStack, right?
It's a dedicated.
And then and now you're just starting to ramp up Kubernetes, and to we have multiple teams working on Kubernetes. Then
let's see.
We'll see.
Let's see where we're going. We have been growing very fast in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is good. So I don't want to predict where we will be next year at this time.
Right.
But it's growing steadily. That's good. We're investing here.
How is the HPE integration coming along?
So that one was announced, that one finalized in 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
Might be. Early March. We had, and now we are talking with each other and figuring out the details. So we had some teams sitting the whole last week on the management level together, and now we have to slowly onboard. So we have onboarded the people, but it's getting them into all the teams in the work. That's starting right now.
Okay. And if I understood correctly, so SUSE, the team would be like still working on OpenStack related or the remains of Stackato related software, but HPE would still sell the appliance that with this solutions on board.
So my understanding,
is that right, or?
my understanding is that we got the engineers for OpenStack and Stackato. HPE will continue to sell those solutions under their name, but will be based going forward on what we are delivering. Not from tomorrow. It will take some decision time, but that's the goal.
Okay, so HPE would still continue to sell the portfolio of products.
They might still sell it as HPE Helion, OpenStack product.
Okay.
But if you look a level deeper, you see it's SUSE OpenStack Cloud running below that, and I don't know what kind of. Whether they just change the color and the name, or whether they do more changes.
Okay. So the Helion portfolio kind of still stays, or okay.
That's my understanding at least.
Okay.
I can't speak for.
That was my understanding as well. So we seem to agree with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, just in conclusion, what should we expect from SUSE over the next 6 to 12 months? Are ramping up of Kubernetes, and maybe if you have any new insights in particular, how that might evolve. Like, are you going to be focusing on your container as a service?
Our first focus will be on container as a service. So part of that is delivering that product, that distribution, but it's also supporting all the bits and pieces. As a distributor of Linux, we are used to ship everything in RPMs in a package format. In the container world, you have to ship as images.
Right.
And that means for us a complete, and making images first-class citizens besides RPMs.
Right.
That's something everybody expects and we need to do.
Right.
But a lot of internal work where you see at the end the SUSE registry coming up. But that will be quite some work to get the processes, the maintenance out there. For example, today if a customer has a problem with an RPM, we might send him a test RPM. How do we do that if it's not a test RPM but a container?
Right.
How to deliver the customer a fix to evaluate whether it really solves their problem in a support case. And those processes we need to evolve so that the customer in the end says, yes, it works flawlessly. So internal work to get everything done. If it works, the customer is happy, but not much you are seeing on that.
Right.
Do you have any reference customers or marquee customers that you would like to highlight?
For
your both, Kubernetes or CAs. Probably you're in beta, so probably not. But
for cars, I can't. Since it's a beta.
Okay.
We have huge interest from many existing customers, but I can't name any. For OpenStack, we have customers like running like ISPs. Didn't prepare for the list of names. So we have in Finland an ISP, we have in Japan one.
Okay.
We have in Germany here somebody running OpenStack.
Okay.
At the cloud.
Okay. OVH? OVH or?
No.
Okay. Thank you. It's okay. Thank you.
Well, Andreas, thank you very much for joining us and having this discussion. I've learned a lot more about SUSE during this conversation and how you're approaching Kubernetes and kind of how that compares to OpenStack. So I look forward to keeping in touch. It's like you guys are one of those really well-established enterprise software companies that we'd like to learn more about as you make this journey. So thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Andreas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sriram. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'd like to thank Cloud Native Computing Foundation for sponsoring our podcast from CloudNativeCon, KubeCon Berlin.